Welcome to Oblivion.
Alright, Revy here. I'm here to attempt to explain, or at least, do my best to explain the lore or story behind Nelphindie, Queen of Oblivion, Forgotten Realm. So let's just go, page by page, what the story is about. I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to explain it, little by little. So, Nelphindie can travel basically anywhere in Oblivion, just like that. And the goddess can travel anywhere, or at least could, at one point, travel anywhere throughout the plains in the blink of an eye. She lost that power to the sins. The 7 deadly sins, that is, that Nelphindie will fight with her army, and she ends up sealing away greed in a fight, temporarily though, and then ends up killing gluttony, actually, permanently. However, the goal is to seal them all away permanently, or at least for a good while. It's not impossible to seal away the sin permanently, but it's very hard to. There are ways that my story will explain on how to do that. So yeah. Basically, the North is the last surviving kingdom. All the other 4 kingdoms, the orcs, the elves, let's see, I forget what the kingdoms are now. Orcs, elves, merfolks, which is the water kingdom. And then, I guess I'll put dwarves in there because dwarves are cool. They're kind of short, but they're cool. I would put hobbits, but they're hobbits. They're whatever. They're brave and everything, but they're not meant for war. Not always, Anyways, let's see here. So the Crimson Prophecy, which is basically the prophecy that Nelphindie will fulfill to seal away the sins in its entirety. The story will explain how she does that. I'm not quite there yet, but it will get there with the war and everything, and maybe I'll add a few extra chapters instead of. I was going to do 8 originally, but there might be 10 or 11. There might be more to the story now that I think about it. So yeah, let's see here. So the Sins are trying to get into the Northern Kingdom, which is proving to be hard for them, but Greed does get through, and he ends up killing the king. And the goddess is, dying over time. However, Nelphindie will have her rebirth by having her first child. And the story behind that is her, whoever, has the first child with her will reincarnate the goddess through that process, basically. Yeah, having their first child. It's kind of complicated, but I didn't really explain that in detail, but it is what it is, and basically that child is the savior of this whole entire thing. Like, the child, she is probably more powerful than Nelphindie or the goddess herself. It's like the goddess 2.0. And when I say more powerful than Nelphindie, well, the goddess herself originally was more powerful than any other goddess living, really. And she's technically half nightshade, technically half angel, but there's other stuff in her background. I might explain that later on what the goddess's background is, and her name is Zenitharia. So I'm not really doing the best job of explaining this, but I'm trying my best. So, Nelphindie will become a planeswalker eventually, which planeswalkers can travel between planes. Usually, planeswalkers take a while to travel between planes. She will be able to do it within seconds, if not instantly. Depending on the location, it will take a while longer, and preemptive measures can be taken in case, let's say, she teleports to Hades, or, well, Hades is obviously going to see this. It's his realm after all, but yeah, that's going to be a complicated chapter to say the least on how she fights Hades. And she will fight Hades, by the way. That is going to be a very complicated fight, to say the least. I don't even know how that's going to go, to be honest. Hades is pretty powerful. But yeah, I mean, it's not impossible to not necessarily kill him, but yeah, killing him would bring havoc to everything. Like, you can't kill the devil, you can't kill Hades, but you can weaken him. Let's just say that much. So yeah, basically, it's a pretty good story. I mean, I like the story and how it's going. I mean, it's probably got some grammar errors. General Swindlek. He makes the ultimate sacrifice to reveal the sword that will seal away the sins temporarily. This is and then so if I remember right, Orcish is kind of like, it's confusing, but I could explain it, but it's very confusing to explain it. Basically, it's based off World of Warcraft, where KK is LOL. I guess I will explain it. Basically, KK LOL is, it's the letter next to the letter in the keyboard. So LOL, KK. If you look on the keyboard, the letters are next to each other. So that's how you do Orcish. Yeah, so that's the trick to that. I assume, anyways. I could be totally wrong on that, but I assume that's the trick to Orcish on World of Warcraft, so I kind of copied that. Yeah, I kind of copied a few things, actually. Yeah, so like The Sims, for example, I mean, that's used in a lot of stories. So yeah, let's see here. So yeah, let's just go to chapter 2, which is pretty interesting. So the queen will be betraying the goddess eventually. Not, she'll stamp out of it, but she will weaken the goddess enough for one of the sins to get through. I'm not saying which one, but he will wreak havoc on the Northern Kingdom. Attempt to bring down the barrier. The goddess will fight him, and Nelphindie will realize this, and she'll be there right in time, and with her sisterhood and the sisterhood, along with Nelphindie and her new husband, the angel. You'll find out who he is very soon here. They will basically desecrate that sin and seal him away for a very long time. So they will be there right in time to save the goddess, but at the same time that the goddess will die at that point. It's going to be very sad, now that I think about it, that the goddess will die. However, a couple days later, Nelphindie will also have the reincarnation of the goddess and have her first baby. And that child will grow up pretty fast since the reincarnation, well, obviously you have to make a goddess. They will grow up pretty fast. You get the idea of that. Shouldn't have to explain it any further. So gluttony. Basically, gluttony tries to summon lust. So yeah, lust. Basically, if lust was summoned by gluttony in this fight, okay. So to explain this fight, first of all, Nelphindie has the swift dance. It's one of her skills. One of her most powerful skills. She can only use it once in a very, very short period. She can use it for a short period of time once in a. It's a skill that could only be activated if she needs it, basically. So she fights a bunch of demons. Um, Ends up killing them all within a record amount of time. She just desecrates all of them. Like, I could put in more detail in this story, but it's a short story, so the detail doesn't need to be too much, but I could put more detail. But I mean, I did okay in the detail. So if Lust was summoned, technically Lust could then alert Envy, the leader of the sins, to have all the sins come to that spot and kill Nelphindie. So she had to be pretty fast about it. She summoned her dragon. Let's see here. I'm trying to get through this really quick. Quentin, yes. Yeah, I almost forgot her dragon's name, Quentin, and his idea to save Nelphindie from the sins backfired a little bit since he can only handle so much gravity. He's generally immune to gravity, but when he swallows gravity and uh, he's taking a chance to kill himself. The swallowing gravity is pretty dangerous, especially when Nelphindie uses a mini black hole on her dagger. Like both those anomalies together, well, it's enough to kill Gluttony, no doubt. And then, I mean, maybe I should explain that a little bit better in this story, just to get going on how she killed Gluttony. To be honest, I should explain that a little bit better, because not only was the dagger used, but Sinbane was used, which wait, trying to think really quick. Sinbane was her dagger, and General Swindle's sword, which is the Sword of Time, I believe. Both of those weapons were used to defeat Gluttony. I don't think I even used the Sword of Time in that fight. Okay, maybe I should edit that a bit to change that fight a little bit, but I think it's good the way it is for now. But you get the idea. Gluttony was destroyed basically by her, Nelphindie, and Quentin, by gravity itself, basically, along with being sealed away to the Shadow Realm, which is underneath Oblivion. And once you're in the Shadow Realm, either you get out or you don't, and usually you have to be a sin to get out. But if you're cut in half, you're not going to get out very easily, if you know what I mean. So yeah, the third chapter, basically, there's a fight between Raphaelio and Nelphindie, and Raphaelio doesn't end up killing Nelphindie because Raphaelio is Nelphindie's, well, soon-to-be husband. But it is a complicated thing. He actually does nearly end up killing her. He cuts off one of her horns, which grows back eventually, but she's missing one horn for quite some time, which could have technically cut off her head if I wanted it to him too, but that would end the story abruptly, and yeah, that wouldn't be very cool, would it? But yeah, they end up having the baby and getting married, and then they end up talking about the sisterhood. So an angel that Raphael knows is in the sisterhood, along with somebody that Nelphindie knows, a half elf, half nightshade ranger, very talented ranger that kind of like Legolas in a way from Lord of the Rings. He's or she's in the sisterhood too, and basically it goes into the next two chapters, which is the Abyssal Realm, which is about the two brothers, which I didn't explain yet, but it will be explained in the Abyssal Realm, Dimitri and Shinra, and then the Sisterhood's Creed, which is about how they meet the Sisterhood in the Beastlands. So I hope that explains it, and I hope I did okay job explaining that. If not, then you know at least you can read it, and I'll have the link in the description on where you can read it. It's web novel. It's a pretty cool site where published books are published by pretty much anybody, if you think about it. I mean, professionally or unprofessionally. But anyways, thank you for listening to this, and have a good one.